I don't think it's that simple, but I also don't know all the answers, so I'm keeping my mouth shut.
No, I'm about to open your mouth. Right.
Open that right up.
The most boring chat show ever, where people haven't decided what they think, so we sit in silence and mull on
Not
it.
here, right?
Not on this YouTube channel, no, sir. Welcome to Sisterhood, and today we're talking about a really hot button issue, which is cancel culture. Have you, I don't know if I should ask if you've ever cancelled someone or if you're ever scared that you'll get cancelled.
Oh, yeah.
Are you scared you'll get cancelled?
Slightly.
Okay.
Sometimes I am quite scared.
What sort of things do you think you do that could get you cancelled?
I'm intrigued as well, I want to know.
I mean, sometimes on Twitter, I can be slightly free with my words. And I think, is someone one day going to look at this and say, cancelled?
Okay.
I don't know.
As in, like, go back through the history?
Potentially. Or, I mean, now I'm working in more Christian circles. Will I now be cancelled because of my...
Because of your views?
Just things that I say, how free I am with my life. We're not going to go there, though.
Let us decide whether or not we're going to cancel you.
Not going to get into the cancel ring.
Us be the Christians that decide if we're going to cancel you or not.
So yeah, sometimes, because you never really know, do you? You don't know what's cancelable and what's not in this generation.
It is scary, actually. And when I started doing more things in the media, I don't know if you know, but you can download your whole Twitter history.
Yeah.
So I downloaded my whole Twitter history and just read through. Also, though, I was conscious that for the first couple of years I had Twitter, I was also a drug addict. So I wanted to make sure that I was really proud of everything I put out into the world. I think it's a sensible thing to do. And I went through, and I actually didn't end up deleting anything, but I did just want like those sort of fresh eyes to make sure, you know, most of it was just about like things I was eating and restaurants I was going to and stuff, nothing too deep. But is there anything that you're like, I really believe this, but I wonder if one day this is going to get me cancelled?
Not so much. So I don't use social media anymore, as you guys know. But when I first started at the job I'm in currently, someone did say to me, you need to check your social media and make sure there's nothing on there that might make someone question your authority in the role that you're in. So I'm in quite a leadership role in what I do. Okay. And I was a bit annoyed by that because I feel like I'm a Christian, I know I'm a Christian, and I'm not afraid to look slightly different to what people might think a traditional Christian should look like. So I felt a bit censored.
Okay.
But there was my profile picture on Twitter at the time was me skiing in a bikini. And I had no problem with that.
That is so dull.
I know.
That is just
That is very on brand for you.
It is very on brand because you guys know me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take away from the fact that
I literally hate the cold. That would never be me.
I hate the cold as well. Look, it was a very strange ski season. But it doesn't take away from who I know I am, my core as a Christian. But people did kind of say, someone just coming across your profile for the first time and seeing you're a leader in your field in the Christian industry might think it's at odds with what, you know, someone of that position should be doing. I don't know. So I did take it down, but I was annoyed.
At its heart, cancel culture is censorship, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's seeing something you disagree with and deciding that that means that that person should no longer be heard across the board, right? Do you think there's ever a justification for cancelling someone? Do you think that people sometimes genuinely have gone so far that it's time just to shut them down?
Yes.
Do you?
Okay. Yes. I mean,
I'm surprised I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I don't think that everyone should have their thoughts out there like that. I don't think everyone, because some people, they themselves are not the right person to be influencing so many thousands of people. And
but
so
who
those
gets to
people,
choose?
I think, but we just know, like if someone is not mentally stable, for example, and they're very all over the place, and what they're saying is quite damaging to a lot of different people, maybe, not permanently, but maybe whilst they get themselves in a more stable place, cancel them for a little bit, take things away, because actually you can damage a lot of people.
So you're advocating for the temporary
cancel, not a permanent right, just shut them off forever.
So Kanye West quite famously has had episodes
Yes.
where he hasn't been well and has tweeted out things that people deem inappropriate. I don't actually have an example I can think of, but it's been clear he's not been well.
Yeah.
Would you say it would be fair for someone on his team or even Twitter just to lock him off for a 3-month
For his own
cancel?
good as well, though, not just for everyone else, but for him, because what if he then does get to a really mentally stable place and looks back and thinks, man, why did no one stop me from just doing that on the internet? He might. So whilst he's in that space for his own protection, take him away.
I don't know if it's that simple, because what about Britney Spears, right?
I don't think it's that simple, but I also don't know all the answers, so I'm keeping my mouth shut.
No, I'm about to open your mouth. Right.
Open that right up.
The most boring chat show ever, where people haven't decided what they think, so we sit in silence and mull on
Not
it.
here, right?
Not on this YouTube channel, no, sir. Okay, so you can hear the heart behind it, you can hear the logic behind it, but it's messy, isn't it? It's so messy because someone thought that of Britney Spears, what, 16 years ago? She's not safe to manage her own money, to manage her own social media accounts, so for a temporary time, we'll shut her down and we'll take charge of it. But actually...
Was that more controlling
That
her?
was controlling her.
Not for her own good.
But, well, the argument was that it was for her own good, right? So
My thing is like, yeah, how do you decide that? Who decides that? Who's policing it? I think it's difficult and messy.
for every person who's been blocked off Twitter, whether temporarily or permanently or up until Elon Musk came back, like it's...
Or like Trump, like...
Yeah, there are legions of people who do not believe that they should be cancelled or censored or shut down in any way. And who's right? Who's right, guys?
It's the end of this show then.
I don't know.
No, tell me. Okay, let's...
I don't...
No, go on.
I don't know. I think it's really... because we live in a world where there is free speech.
Sure. And that's important.
And that is very important.
There are places where Christians are censored.
Yeah.
Where Christians are cancelled, where Christians are martyred and killed, and that's because people disagree with them.
Yeah, it's like England and North Korea. Like, where do we want to be with this? Like,
On the scale of England to North Korea.
Yeah, like it just feels like a very hard thing to do. And also, we're talking about, you know, if someone's got lots of followers and we're saying they shouldn't have that much authority, but like, why do they have so many followers? Like, when has that happened? And then that means those followers are they're in agreement in a way with what they're saying. Yeah, it's tricky. What keeps coming back in my mind, and I was reluctant to say it, but I was just thinking, like, if we'd had social media when Hitler had been around, you know, he had so many people following him and agreeing with what he was saying, and there are elements of which might have sounded plausible, like in terms of like genetics and genetic like enhancement and this new generation of like superhuman type beings.
Any dictator must be very persuasive to get into that position somehow. Yeah,
exactly. And those people will all agree with them, and we can't assume they agree with those people. And then this is going to be damaging. They might agree with those views, which means there's an issue with them, what they're agreeing with, the people that are agreeing, and not necessarily the person who's spouting those ideas. Like, we can't assume that the person with all that power is making these statements that no one else believes in, and they actually some people will, and that's the issue, some people will actually believe in them. And they've just got this personal platform to spout them out. And that's the worrying thing, is more the crowds. A single person's messaging never is a worry to me. It's the crowds that is a worry to me. It's the sheep mentality, and that is a worry.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Let me run through a few well-known-ish examples of where someone has been cancelled or someone's been called to be cancelled, or, you know, stuff like that. So, for example, don't know if you remember a while back, James Corden, you know, of Gavin and Stacey, of Late Show. Don't know how many late in the States. Like, obviously, hugely famous Brit in America. But he was in a restaurant where the guy who owned the restaurant said that he was, the rudest customer he'd ever had in 25 years, and asked him to leave. And James Corden, from what I understand, didn't really feel like he needed to apologise for that. what do we think of that? Someone, because I know a lot of people in a dating context, they're like, number one red flag is if the guy you're on a date with or the woman you're on a date with is rude to a waiter.
Yeah.
So what do we think of James Corden being rude to a waiter?
Why is that in the news?
Okay.
That is my
I was
first
going to say, I mean,
question.
it's not like cancelable because that is, he can just apologise and it goes away. It's not like a thing of, all right, let's take him off of everything because he
Also,
was
maybe
rude.
have a bad
It's not nice.
day.
People have
Come on,
that.
it's
Yeah,
like, why
okay,
are you trying
yeah.
to bring down this guy?
Yeah, it's not a nice thing to do, but I doubt it.
If it's true, it's not a
thousands
nice
of
thing to
people.
do.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is it true? And if it is true, it's not a nice thing to do. But also,
But over our whole lives, right, if you spoke to every person you'd had that level of interaction with, is every single one going to say that you were polite?
no, yeah, exactly.
Like someone could, if we were that level of famous, someone
Yeah.
could sell that story. Okay, fine. I don't know if we've ever been the rudest client anyone's ever had in their restaurant, but I'm sure that there have been times where in that moment people haven't known what's been going on with us and we've reacted badly.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're saying that's not news and certainly not worth being cancelled over.
I would say that, yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay. What about J.K. Rowling? And this is getting a little bit more spicy now.
Okay.
Okay, so J.K. Rowling, she expressed views that that biological sex was sex, the sex of a person, and really upset lots of people, and particularly
Was that on
trans rights
Twitter?
lobbyists.
Yeah.
On Twitter when she said that women who menstruate, wasn't it? Women who
No, people who
So
menstruate.
people who menstruate are
are
women.
Yeah.
So, cancelable, not cancelable, news, not news. What do we think about this? Because actually, like, a lot of people have cancelled her.
What do you think?
The actors have distanced themselves from her,
Yes, that's what I...
from the
yeah,
film,
Yeah.
and there were like there was like a
Yeah.
board game or something.
Did she get something taken away from her as well?
I don't know. I haven't looked it up, like all of the sort of knock-on effect consequences of it where it was
Yeah.
cancelling. I think I remember Ricky Gervais saying that there is an arrogance to people who believe that they should never have to come across someone in the world who believes something different to them.
I absolutely agree with that.
And I feel like, so my vicar is amazing and he's so wise and he's really well obviously read and thought through and studied and all of that stuff, and it's an Anglican church, so he's gone through all of the process that you do to become a vicar in an Anglican church. And on a number of different topics we disagree, we differ, but that kind of makes him the most important person in my life for my spiritual development and my thinking. And when I come across something and I'm like, okay, am I just going with this worldly liberal view because that's what feels like the right thing?
Yeah.
Or have I looked this up? Have I tested it against scripture? Have I prayed about it? Blah, blah, blah. And often when I start that process, I go to him and say, what do you think? And sometimes it's not the answer that I think I want. It's not the morality I think is right. But I need to hear it and I need to hear his working so that I can reframe mine. So actually, like, the people who disagree with me are the ones I want round the most,
Like
you know?
iron sharpening iron in a
Yeah.
way. Even if you're not
Exactly.
not just all being like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that your vicar is allowing you to have these conversations where you might disagree. That's incredible for
that's
a
really
church.
great.
That's what should happen. But
Yeah.
I don't think it happens.
No,
I've not seen it happen a lot.
Yeah.
Great
No, he's
vicar.
very open. He's very like, okay, tell me why you think that way.
I want to talk to him
Here's
about
my
things as well.
Oh my gosh, I'll hook you guys up. He's all of our vicars, really.
Do we have him in the back? Can we
just bring him
To be honest, it'd be so good if he was in the back. He'd be shaking his head. Oh, Lauren, no. Not another joke about that. But no, that's it. You know, accountability, people challenging your thinking,
Yeah.
people pushing you to consider someone else's perspective. Like, if we cancel everyone we don't agree with, what are we left with? It's carnage out there.
Yeah.
You know? What do you think? What do you think about the J.K. Rowling thing?
You see, I don't think you should cancel people for their opinions.
Okay.
If it's not something that is like morally wrong, for example, but if it's just an opinion that someone has, it's an opinion that someone has. It's a thought that they have. Why cancel someone over that? They can change that opinion literally within like a second.
Now, that's
so that
another
is
thing I
like,
wanna
do
talk
then
about.
you
Yeah.
uncancel someone because
Yeah.
they have a thought and they said it, and then tomorrow they think something different? I think, yeah, I don't. If it's a thought that someone has that's not, again, morally outrageous.
When did we lose the ability to allow people to progress and
Change.
grow
Yes.
and change their minds?
Evolve.
Like this, like 6 years ago or 10 years ago, blah, blah, tweeted something that is really misogynist or very rude about that person. So therefore they're out.
Well, this is what's happening with TV shows, which I think is really funny. Like the TV shows from the 70s, 80s, 90s, they're looking at it and saying like, oh, this was a bit racist or sexist or whatever it was.
Friends is often accused of being a little bit homophobic, a little bit like, oh, if you have a handbag, you're a girl. As a man, then you're a girl. And if you make potpourri, you're a girl.
You're supposed to put things in their context that they were created. There's no blank. I cannot look at something that was made 50 years ago and be like, right, why is that? Because in this generation, of course, it's going to be two completely different things. Because back then, it was a whole different world. It's a bit like, I had an argument once with an old lady. Which sounds really bad.
Wow. Oh.
Can we let me laugh? All right,
Oh my gosh.
I had an argument with an old lady. Okay.
And then you just pull.
Two old
I'm joking.
No, she didn't do that.
Definitely not.
she
That's a
is.
joke.
It's a joke. I did not hit her. I nearly did. But no, cancelled. You see? Things I get cancelled for. No. So what happened was I was in a shop in a place and I saw gollywog dolls being sold.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I looked at those and I said, why are you selling these? And she said to me, well, when I was growing up, these were fine. And this was like 5, 6 years ago, but I challenged her on that and I said, but now they're not.
She was
And
white,
She
presumably.
was an old white lady, yes, and her friend. And they said, yeah, but they're fine for us. But I said, but now they're not. And I had to learn around the context as to why she thought they were fine. Because when she was growing up 60 years ago, maybe 70, maybe 80, they were fine. And I had to then say, okay, I get where she's coming from. I do not agree because I think that if you're going, you understand where you are now.
Yeah.
But I had to learn around the context.
Yeah.
She continues to tell them and she said that's fine. She wants to do that. But again, context.
I mean, so it is that like, to what extent do we, I think in that example where somebody explains to you and takes the time politely to explain to you something you hadn't considered in terms of the impact that would have on some people, and actually quite a lot of people, I have to say, because I think I'm white and I'd find that really uncomfortable. So it's not like that's a you problem. Actually, that's a lot of people's problem. I would like to think that I would hear that and grow and do my own research and then make a decision that is kindest to everyone. But I would love it if I also wasn't cancelled within that growing process.
Yeah.
But what about, so I don't know if you've heard the news, Roald Dahl, obviously really famous books, Matilda, James and Giant Peach, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The Twits. They've taken out loads of words from his original books. The word fat is no longer in there.
Fat.
Wow.
Fat, yeah.
As in F-A-T.
F-A-T, yeah, fat. So that's my South London. Fat. Fat.
Why is
It's
that
not-
taken out? Okay,
Because it's an
alright.
offensive word, and several others. What do you think of that? Or in a stronger sense, there are shows where people would have used really offensive phrasing towards Black people or towards people of other races. I've heard some really offensive terminology for like a corner shop run by Pakistani people that has been used in a lot of shows. Do we need to edit that out?
People ask me this a lot, especially for things to do with race.
Sure.
And I just feel like we just don't need to bring them back and edit them. Like they were there and they happened. And some people enjoyed them, some people didn't enjoy them. People of colour who were around at that time dealt with it however they dealt with it. I don't feel like we need to bring it back and do anything with it. There doesn't need to be a part 2 with an apology. I just think it's unnecessary. And even things like, is it like Disney trying to bring in like Black
They've got
versions of
disclaimers
things, or
before.
and disclaimers.
Disclaimers saying some things in this show
That
are
I think
culturally
is-
sensitive
yeah.
and we're learning and growing.
Because that's always going to be around. I think that's probably fine.
Yeah.
But I don't think a reprint of a book with stuff like that taken out is necessary. Personally, if these things are offensive, like we can just not read them, and if we can have the conversations about why that was
But they
bad
can
and
creep up
learn
on you. You can be watching something, not realizing that that's going to pop up, and then suddenly there's a word that's actually like, whoa, that
Maybe it's the
hurts.
thing where that we don't, because that is a part of life that has happened. We cannot change it. Well, you can technically, but it's happened.
You can't rewrite what
You
is
cannot
past.
rewrite it. It's just done. So maybe it's about not rebroadcasting them or reusing them in the modern day.
That's what I mean. Like, leave it as it was, so
leave
we
it as it
know
was.
that was how it was. And
then-
like Disney are doing those disclaimers on Disney Plus. I think it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to rebroadcast it, they can put stuff in like that.
So
Fine.
Peter Pan, for example, has some scenes with Native Americans which are quite stereotypical, and they're sort of dancing around and smoking things and da-da-da. And they have got a disclaimer before you watch that 1950s or so Peter Pan show saying, you know, we now recognise that there are culturally insensitive things here. Da, da, da. Do you think that Peter Pan then just probably shouldn't be re-aired, just available on streaming for people to click and say they want to watch? Or do you think they should cut it out? Or do you think that disclaimer is actually it? That's fine, that's good enough.
I grew up reading a lot of these stories, and I loved these stories. And probably in my innocence, I was just reading them as stories and not really potentially like absorbing some of the nuances with that.
Okay.
And I love literature, and I don't know that it needs to keep being rehashed. I think better, let's just make new things then that are more culturally appropriate, and not keep going back to all these old ones. Like, let's look to, with the information we now have, and knowledge and the learnings, let's move forward.
Yeah. Okay, so something I really want to get into then is let's take Will Smith, who at the Oscars 2022 slapped Chris Rock after he made a joke, a comment about his wife that was about her alopecia, that was quite insensitive, but didn't warrant violence, basically. And actually, like, a lot of people have condemned that violence, and I 100%, I'm sure we'd all agree, that's not the way to solve anything. There probably was a conversation to have there because it was really rude and it was a very sensitive thing, but still, that's not how you deal with it. Would we say he's cancelled? He's certainly lost out on jobs. He's certainly lying low. He definitely took time to reflect, and it will have affected his prospects. I have a feeling it's not over for Will Smith, you know. Despite that being offensive, and despite that being a really poor decision, can we disapprove of Will Smith and what he's about and his character within that, but still love watching Fresh Prince, and still love Will Smith's music and Wild Wild West, if anyone ever loved that in the first place?
Sorry, let's not diss Will Smith's music.
Will Smith's music is good. Wild Wild West isn't. The film.
The film is.
The film isn't. The song's all right.
Big Willie Styles the album to go for. But
Big Willie Styles is the album to go for.
You know,
It was a great time.
Okay, I liked Millennium. Or
oh yeah.
Will Smith's music was, we need to listen to that after.
I think Jazzy Jeff carried him, but that's not the point.
Different show.
That's for when we get the music show.
Yeah.
Okay, and the same with J.K. Rowling. Like, are the books still good, or is she over? What are we saying?
I think, I mean, there's no blanket statement with any of these things.
No.
So there's no right or wrong, yes or no. I think with Will Smith, I personally can enjoy his content because he did say, you know what, that was wrong. And he kind of, he held himself accountable, and he said, you know what, yeah, I really messed up. I shouldn't have handled it like that. I'm learning and I'm growing. Can you learn and grow with me? And I have grace for that. I'm like, yeah, I can actually, Will. Yeah,
And that's biblical.
yeah.
You know, we forgive people. And actually, we're called to forgive people even when we don't get that apology.
Oh my God, that's the hardest as well. Yeah, just moving on without,
Yeah, I totally agree. What do you think? Can you separate the art from the artist?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Often. Yeah.
Often, yes, but in extreme, very strong circumstances, you feel that may be different.
Yeah, I think because there are some things that are so close to my heart. So anything to do with children where they're being harmed, and anything to do with the vulnerability of women, I have zero tolerance.
You'd feel you'd need to disengage with that, with the entirety of that person.
Yeah.
Okay, that stuff gets more complicated when we get into like that level of like criminal, you know, stuff like that. But I can see that it's not a blanket approach. There are some times where you may want to pull back. But on the whole, can we agree that cancel culture, it's time to cancel it? Oh my days, we're not agreeing that. Are we not? On a Christian show?
No, I mean,
You
you
have to go through it with you and your God.
No, we have to think about it.
can we give us the grace to think?
Yeah, we have to think about it to make sure we're
Please.
giving like an answer that was well thought out.
Okay, can we cancel culture?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's only because I reacted so strongly. Okay, I feel like from my perspective, there's lots to think about. It's very nuanced.
Yeah.
It's very sort of a case-by-case thing, but overall, we want to give people that grace. We know no one is fully good or fully bad, and people need the opportunity to learn and grow and take time out and reflect without being chastised and cut down and cut out for it, because we would want that grace ourselves because we will make mistakes. We just don't have the same level of platform for people to cuss us for it, right?
Basically.
Yeah. Okay. We're agreed on.
I agree with that.
We're on that.
I agree with that.
Yes. Only God can judge me and you and you.
And us.
Wait, are you saying we can judge you or only God can judge us? Because I'm not. I mean, I appreciate the invitation, but I'll leave God to do it.
Let God do his judging.
Okay, well, let God do the judging. All right, that's fine. Thank you for tuning in to Sisterhood. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of the amazing Christ-centered content on TBN UK TV. And if you hit the bell notification icon, then you'll get told every time a new episode of Sisterhood drops. See you next time.